All right, well, welcome out to the Sugar House Community Council meeting for May. Thank you. Landon sends his regrets. He's being a good dad and spending time with Elliot on his senior year. So also we've taken some suggestions. We're getting more and more people that tune in on YouTube. So we've added this fuzzy little mic so they can hear us better, hopefully. So it's an experiment. But when you get up here, please hold your mic up so we can hear you on YouTube and the big speaker. So we're going to get this rolling. Let's start out with Treasurer Mike. I saw him walk in. There's Mike. Right off the bat.
Hello, YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber, but all right. I'll start. Anyway, thanks for everyone for being here. Treasury report, quick update. Check the balances today before the meeting, $7,778.28 in our U.S. bank account. And sitting in the PayPal account, your generous donations total $558.13. And just want to say I appreciate all the donations, of course, all volunteer, nonprofit organizations. So everything runs on your donations and then whatever kind of grant monies we can apply for and get awarded. Some of the transactions, I won't go into all the details about it, but you've heard or you will hear, we've started our Sugar House Community Council radio station. There's been some expenses associated with that. There's also some grant monies coming in. And we also pay, to maintain the website and keep it updated. So that's an ongoing expense that we have. So there's all that there, and some of the monies, people want on specific projects. We were just talking, some of the monies are allocated for something like, or it could be like the Fairmont glass recycling bin. That was a project that we assisted with, took on. So some people want their funds to go for that. So that's a separate thing that is included in that total I mentioned. So if there's no questions, I will pass it on. Next on the agenda is Detective Sam Fallows. Thanks. Crime fighter.
Double mic'd up. All right, let's go. All righty. For those that don't know me, I'm Detective Sam Fallows. I'm the community liaison for Sugar House, and so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about some crime stats and take any questions if anybody has any. So don't let me off the hook tonight. Easy. Be thinking of some questions. Okay, Councilwoman Young. Huh? All right. All right. So I want to cover a couple of things real quick, so I don't forget. Mostly. We had our big meeting in the police department today where we go over like all the stats for the whole entire city. And something that's popped up specific to Sugar House as well as a couple of small other areas in District 5, but Sugar House has seen still, it's not a large increase. So like over the winter time, we always get a decent amount of vehicle thefts, but we're still seeing, they're not going down like they normally do. Okay, so I think we still saw between 15, I think it was around 15 vehicle thefts. And most of these are keys being left in vehicles. It's not so much running anymore, right? Vehicles running. It's still a little cold in the mornings, but it's not like freezing cold anymore. So during the winter time, a lot of it was like vehicles running. And I know I've talked about this many, many times. These ones are keys being left in vehicles and some of the vehicles being left even like unlocked. So people are just pulling on door handles like suspects and they're rummaging through the car. They're finding a key and going, sweet. And they're just taking off. So just anybody on YouTube, swear to God, take your keys out of your car. Don't leave valuables in your vehicle, please. And then just the same kind of goes for like our homes. Like I know Sugar House is a fairly safe neighborhood, 100%, but this is not the age of our grandparents anymore. You leave your doors unlocked, stuff like that. Like don't do that. Like check your windows, make sure they're all locked up. Check your doors at night, make sure everything's locked up. Turn your lights on. Just the basic small things are going to help, I promise. So, because we do see generally in the summertime, we start to see increases of like residential burglaries and things like that, which can include garages. So, just get in the habit at night before you go to bed, check your garage, make sure it's closed. If you have one, lock all your doors, that kind of stuff. That'll help prevent a lot of these crimes. Most of them are crimes of opportunity. So I know y'all heard me say that before. So, but that's really what it is. It's a crime of opportunity. So they're just looking for these opportunities to take your stuff. So try not to give them that opportunity. Everything else is looking pretty good in Sugar House right now. We're still on that steady decline. We had 66 total crimes reported in the month of April compared to 104 last year. So we're still having a good decrease, which is good. Those are all good. We want that. Even the property crimes. So like I said, the residential burglaries are up. And all other burglaries. And again, the business burglaries are unique. Sugar House is just such a unique area with so much residential and business. So the business ones, we have our squad, our burglary squad, and those guys that pay attention to those pretty closely, as well as the residential. But I just want to make sure that we're not letting that creep up a ton without at least talking about it. So yes, with the motor vehicle thefts, we've had 17 year to date in Sugar House. So we want to just make sure it was pretty close to the prior year, but we just want to make sure that doesn't keep creeping up. So, and then as the warmer months are approaching and there might be more speeding issues that come up, things like that. If you want a speed trailer in your neighborhood or you want some speed enforcement, you can reach out to me for the speed trailer if you like. And I can facilitate that pretty easily. They're pretty good about getting that done pretty quick. And for the speed enforcement, you can reach out to on our website, or if you just Google Speed Watch, you can just reach out to our motors directly and they do directed enforcement. So if it's kind of if it's a bigger area, like a main thoroughfare, they usually hit those. But if it's like your neighborhood street where you're like, man, there's a lot of speeders, or sometimes like recently I had a complaint of they had shut down Parkway, right? Where they shut down Parkway right now for the construction. So everybody's coming down Alden, is that what it is? Yeah, Stratford and like all the others, right? All those little side streets. So I got a complaint for that. So just if it's that, where it's like kind of a smaller side street that our motors aren't necessarily going to know to go out there and do some direct enforcement, just submit that request so that they know where to go.
They were speed enforcing on Stratford. I watched them pull over 3 cars.
Perfect.
2 days ago.
Awesome. Yeah, and it was about that time frame when it got put in. So yeah, our motors are pretty receptive. Like if they know where to go, they'll go and hit it pretty hard. Just don't be the person that calls it in and gets caught. So, yeah, I think that's the main highlights I want to hit. Does anybody have any questions for me this month?
So the barrels for crowd control after the marathon stuck around on the city streets for like at least 2 weeks. So who was in charge of getting those back off the streets?
I just know it wasn't me. Just kidding. It would have been like the barrier company that we use, the Salt Lake Barrier, I think that's who it is. So I actually, if you give me 2 seconds, I'll give you a phone number that you can call that with complaints specific to the marathon. You could give that suggestion like, hey, the barrels were on there for a while. Because like we just, when we're working them, we just throw them off to the side, which is what we're asked to do, like put them off the side and then we take off, right? So we don't know. After that, we don't know. So,
It should be something on my side of the city.
yeah, it probably is. Is it on the app, the marathon? I'm not sure if it's on there.
They operate on a permit, and then event permit does put it on the app. It'll get picked up by transportation who issues the permit. So the app's a good place to start.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. I got a hotline. Do you want the hotline?
Yeah, sure.
It's 866-311-7256. 866-311-7. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm dyslexic. 7526. Or you can do the website info@saltlakecitymarathon.com. And I think you can submit suggestions, complaints, things like that to either of those two locations. That's a good question. And the marathon route changed this year, right? So a little bit different, kind of cool, but also kind of annoying if you've been a resident here for a long, long time and aren't used to that. But any other questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
So we had a neighbor whose car was parceled to both of their cars. They weren't locked, they weren't stolen, but somebody was just going
Looking for stuff.
keys or
Yeah.
looking for something.
Yeah.
We told them to call because it's best that you guys know what's
Yeah,
going on.
absolutely.
But you don't necessarily send somebody out, right?
Well,
I mean, there was no reason.
yeah, we can. Just depends.
Cops don't need to come. I don't know if they come or not.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to report. You can have an officer call you, which is generally a bit quicker. Like an officer doesn't have to come out to your house; they can call, or you can just report it directly on our website. You can tell them to go to slcpd.com, and they can just do a report online for a vehicle. It's basically a vehicle burglary, essentially, is what it is. Yeah, you would just say there's no suspect. Yeah, so the online reporting really is super easy. It goes directly to the detective unit that's over that, and they kind of review it to make sure. The online reporting is more for like if there is no suspects, that kind of stuff. It's more just like you need a report, or you want to report to like have accurate stats for the city, stuff like that, or you have like an insurance claim or something like that. Online reporting is really good for that because you can do that at any time, any place, doesn't matter. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for sure. Same goes with like camps that pop up, things like that. We're going to start seeing that. I know that Fairmount Park's gotten a little busier with some of that, so I'll just address that real quick. Councilwoman Young, myself, and just several other city partners are working on that currently as we speak, actually. If you are seeing stuff at the park, I always just say like put on the app so that because sometimes everybody's like, oh, just assuming that someone else is going to do it or someone else is going to do it, and then we think that everything's fine because we haven't heard anything about Fairmount Park. So we're like, yeah, Fairmount Park must be good. No one's told me anything, Or if you don't put on the app, you can reach out to me or Councilwoman Young or her liaisons or anyone just to let us know, like, hey, there's still a problem at Fairmount Park. So, because I don't always get out there all the time, but if we know there's a problem, then we can deal with it. So, that northwest corner is always popping. So, yeah. Yeah, they'll report it as well. Generally, I think. Yeah, and rangers are they're not obviously an enforcement arm, right? They're just civilians. And so, yeah, that's a good question. They do report that kind of stuff. And let's just be clear, right? People are allowed to be in the park, right? Regardless whether you're homeless, not homeless, like everyone can be there. What can't be done in a park, and this is for anybody, again, it's not discriminatory. It's just you can't commit crimes, right? So you can't smoke in a park, you can't do drugs in a park, you can't have tents in a park, that kind of stuff. So if it's just like someone on a blanket just chilling, whether they be unhoused or not, that's like any little family can have a picnic, right? Like that's not a problem. That's not what we're trying to like deal with. We're more concerned with like drug use. Are they setting up camps? Do they have like a camp could also just be like a ginormous amount of property just strewn about, right? Like that's what we don't want because that's a health hazard for a park, right? And then that makes it so that other people can't enjoy the park. So those are the things we're looking for. But if it's just someone chilling on a blanket, taking a nap or something, that's what a park is for. So, so we're okay with that, but we're just looking for more for like the criminal element, or if there's just large amounts of property strewn about, trash, that kind of stuff for the health side of it. Does that make sense, everybody? Any questions on any of that?
So we have a new police chief.
Yes, we do.
Have we heard any kind of bigger vision plan, thinking that will affect communities with direction?
I don't know if there's anything necessarily different. He's definitely, just getting his feet wet right now and evaluating everything. The one thing I really like about Chief Red is he did not come in and just like wipe everything out and just like, I'm going to do it my way. Like he's really taking the time to get to know everyone, talk to everyone, talk to our community council members, the mayor, everyone, even like just line officers. Like anytime I see him around a patrol guy, he's like, hey, come here. Hey man, what can we do different in the department? Which is extremely scary when your chief comes to you and is like, what can we do different? You're like, I don't know, but he's just had this really holistic, like awesome approach. Just like, let's figure out like what the core issues are. Let's fix them and then move from there. So I think like the biggest thing that we still care a ton about in Salt Lake City is just the community connection with our community, like the relationship that we have. I know that's a huge thing for him. So much so that they're doing a large meeting, I think right now, right? Yeah. Yes.
To be able to build relationships. Also just share, like for awareness, Chief Red has been actively responding to individual citizen issues that have been raised to his level, not deferring it to other people. He is answering himself and he is providing his contact information if what he says will happen does not happen, so people can follow up. So that's been wonderful. And I know the residents he's worked with in P7 have appreciated that personal touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we try to just, like the biggest thing for us is we want to keep the relationship we have with the communities and then we want to make it better. Right. And so, like for instance, my position is a large part of that. My position, just so y'all understand, this is not a common position in police departments. I've worked for a few different police departments. I came here 7 years ago almost. Not many police departments have like a specific community liaison detective that goes out and talks to the community. That's not super common. So Salt Lake City, and some of that is because departments just don't have the size to do it, but some of it is also just Salt Lake City really values the community and our connection with the community and the relationship we can garner with the community. So there's three people that do my job full time, and then we have a business person that does my side of it, but just for businesses full time. So that's 4 full-time officers or detectives just for that portion of the connection to the community. Then we have a whole nother unit that does like community outreach and events and all these other things. And that's not even talking about like the mayor's liaisons and the council liaisons and like all the other things we have to try and do the best we can to connect with our community. So are we perfect? Like, of course not, but we certainly try. And so for Chief Red, that's a big thing, is community for sure, without a question. He's also very big on making sure his officers are taken care of, which in turn makes sure that you guys are taken care of, right? It all just trickles down. And so another big thing that he wants to do is both retention and hiring, right? Is a big priority of his. So I think you'll see that also continue to do better. I think, sometimes you get some new blood in and it kind of gets some new life in the legs, gets people a little more excited, patrol and detectives and things like that. And then they start telling their friends more like, dude, you got to come over to Salt Lake, man. It's great here, So hopefully we start seeing more of that. And it's obviously he's only been here, I think, 2 months now. So, but it's coming. And I think we'll see a lot of those improvements. As for other bigger picture things, I don't think anything major has come about yet, but for sure, after he gets his evaluations done, implement some big changes, we can definitely talk about that. And I talked to Landon about it. We'll schedule with him a time where he can come out here and get to know you guys in Sugar House, or at least I'll do my best to set that up. I believe he'll be happy to do that. So I'll work on that. We're just trying to get settled a little bit in some of the other things, but yeah, I think that's, I don't know, it's a really long-winded answer. Sorry. I like Chief Red a lot. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So, I look around the room and it was like, there's probably people that you come in contact with or might come in contact with that maybe younger people that might be interested in a career in law enforcement. We talk about retention and hiring.
Yeah.
Obviously, we live in Salt Lake City. We want the best and the brightest. We want the hard workers. We want people that share our values, sacrifice, and community service. So if we, talk to somebody who's maybe coming out of high school, maybe a younger person, they're looking at career options, like what's the best way, like, so they can check out what would a career in law enforcement be like? Is this something, a path I want to go down? Are there resources we can point them to?
Oh, yeah.
What do you recommend for that?
Yeah, so our website is great to start with. And then we also have, we actually just hired a full-time recruiter as well. So, well, actually, I think we've always had a full-time recruiter. I think they created another position and then brought in another person to fill that position. But yeah, the recruitment is he's taking it very seriously. Like he really wants to have our department fully staffed and then some. So for anybody listening online, I think it was July, we're going to be around $35 an hour. I think it is starting like $35 an hour. When I started, it was $16 an hour. So it's pretty good money. Like, granted, housing was way cheaper back then, but still, I'm in year 16 this year. So, but when I started, it was a lot, it was $16 an hour. So 35 an hour is a decent wage if you're 21 years old, young and just looking to start a career. So yeah, it's a great question. Our website is a really good place to start. They can just go under, let's see, just join I think it's just join our police, join the force. You do have to be 21 years old to be a police officer by the time you graduate from the academy. Yeah, true. And that'll get you in the retirement system a little earlier. That won't count 1 for 1 for the police side of it, but you understand that as a firefighter. But it'll get you going in the retirement system, which is awesome. Yeah, really good question. Thank you. Did you have a question? Go ahead. Oh yeah. So there's no promotional process yet. Nothing's. I was talking to Rocky earlier. So I don't know when it's going to happen. It hasn't been announced yet. So I promise you guys will be the first to know if I fail or win, one of those two. I don't plan on failing, but yeah, you guys will be the first to know. Thank you for that question. But yeah, they haven't announced it yet. So kind of the way the process works is they'll announce it. There'll be a period where they can you put in a resume and a letter of interest, and then they do all the testing, and that can take about a month or so from the time that they announce it. So yeah, it'll be a second, but I promise you guys will be the first to know. I've been studying. I have been studying. Yeah. Every time I think about it, I think Sugar House, I can't let Sugar House down. Like I got so yeah, I appreciate the support a lot. It means a lot. Thank you so much. Any other questions? All righty. All right. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Sam, we'll pop quiz you next month. All right, we're going to bring up Erica from the Chamber and Community Alliance.
Good evening, everybody. So first off, we have every month we are having Sugar House Rocks. So keep an eye on shopsugarhouse.org for the lineup for that. I know just today got a really cool coupon from what was Wasatch, now the Corner Pub. So you definitely want to be checking out these deals and music and everything that's going on at that event. Next, I want to introduce, we have a new business in Sugar House. It is Argentinian Empanadas. And if you haven't spotted this new place, it is located where Even Stevens used to be, in that building right there on 9th. So who do we have here from? Hey, Adam, come on up. I am so excited to try these.
Haven't tried them yet?
Not yet.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. I'm Adam. My wife runs the company. I help on Wednesdays and Saturdays. She's from Argentina, immigrated here 18 years ago, became a citizen about, 6 or 7 years ago. Went through the whole process and studied environmental engineering. About 6 months ago, I convinced her to build an empanada empire here in Sugar House. And it's been a journey. We own a few companies as a family. My background's health tech and fintech, and my latest real job, as my kids would call it, was the chief operating officer of Optum Bank, a United Health Group company, which I left about a year and a half ago to start my own companies. And it's been a journey. I'll say it's been a learning journey, and it's been a lot of fun. We opened our doors December 10th officially, and my wife sold 55,000 empanadas since opening the doors. And she's with the kids at gymnastics at Fairmont right now, or else she would have been here, but she sent me instead. So all women except for me, and I'm the unpaid intern is what the wife calls me. I've been fired probably 30 times since we opened, and I keep showing back up. You can't get rid of me that easy. We're located on 2030 South, 900 East. Big blue sign out front says Empanadico. Open Monday through Saturday. Playing around with the idea of opening on Sundays, at least midday for lunch. We'll see. 10:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and then we'll extend those hours in the summertime. We're waiting for a ice cream dipping cabinet to come in, and we're going to be dipping vanilla ice cream bars in Belgium chocolate, and then you'll have all the toppings to choose from. So empanadas and ice cream, it's a good combination. We're excited. A couple of things to know: we import many of our ingredients from overseas. So the empanada dough we import from Argentina. We do about 15 to 20,000 shells a month. Tomorrow I've got a pallet coming in from Buenos Aires. If anyone wants to come in and help me lift it into the freezer, if you're bored at 2:30, that's where I'll be. And then we bring in ingredients from Italy. We do a house-made chimichurri, which the extra virgin Italian olive oil comes in from Italy. So we actually head over to Italy on Friday, so we'll be gone a few days. But we're going to go talk to one of our sources for the olive oil because of the tariffs going on. Many of our suppliers are increasing prices, and so far I've refused to pass those increases on to the consumers. So when we set this company up, there was a few commitments that I made. Affordable, fresh, whole food ingredients. Make it fast, make it good, keep it consistent. And we believe the neighborhood would show up. And so far you all have shown up, and we really appreciate you. A lot of gratitude to the council for having us tonight. Thank you, Eric. Thank you to you all for letting us come in. If you come in the next week or so while I'm in Europe, just let them know, hey, I get the Adam discount. They'll give you a 5, maybe 10% discount. Just let them know. So we're on that family discount club. So come on in, give the empanadas a shot. Whole food ingredients, all fresh made, small batch stuff, having fun. We've invested a couple $100,000 into the community over the last 6 months, and we look to make this the headquarters as we continue to look at expansion and some other opportunities. So again, thank you. Appreciate the time. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
So when I was in, I asked if you do both corners and you, right?
I got up at 3:30 this morning because we had 250 pre-ordered to pick up at 6 a.m. I was out in the parking lot before this. A woman called. She's hosting her husband's 50th birthday party at the event center on Stratford, just down the road here. She wants 250. So we've done anywhere from one empanada to over 700 empanadas. Granite School District just asked me for a quote for 800 empanadas for their year-end event. So yes, we can handle massive orders. We can handle a dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen, whatever it is you want. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? Anything you'd like to know? Would I do it again? Get in the food industry? I don't know. I don't know. It's a hard business to be in. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Put that on my Google account. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. I saw some familiar faces, so thank you all. If you haven't been in, just let them know. Adam said we get the family discount. We love giving stuff away. That's why the wife doesn't let me in there very often, because I just give everything away. So we also, if we ever have leftovers at the end of the night, something that's really cool is we've partnered with Wasteless Solutions, where they come in once a week. It's been a great thing for us. So again, love the community, love to give back. We're sponsoring Judges lacrosse team, both men and women. We're sponsoring a couple of baseball teams. So just looking for fun ways to have impact in the community and have a little bit of fun while we're doing it. So thank you for the time. Derek, thank you.
Thank you, Adam. He also makes croissants, so this Saturday you can get their croissants at our coffee bar. Some of them will have dulce de leche in them too. So, Sally, let's do this. She says she's got like an hour and a half worth of content.
It's been a busy time for the post committee. So I'm Sally Barraclough. I'm the chair of the Parks, Open Space and Trails Committee, and I have quite a list here to start with. So get out one of your 224 pencils that I know you have, and I'm going to get started. On May 10th, Fairmont Park is having a cleanup. It's on Saturday from 2 to 4 o'clock. And if you'll bring some gloves, and we're going to be doing everything from garbage pickup to a little bit of graffiti, and then also weeding the rose garden and just doing a general 2-hour cleanup for Fairmont Park. On Friday, May 16th, from 8 until 10 in the morning, the county is doing a cleanup in Hidden Hollow. And again, that'll be trimming, any kind of litter pickup, graffiti removal, just things like that. But that is managed by the county. And so they're bringing a big trailer and a pickup truck. So it makes it a lot easier. We don't have to bag everything, and they can just drag it right into their trailer and take it away. So that's the Hidden Hollow cleanup at May 16th on a Friday from 8 in the morning till 10. So that's a Friday. Okay. And then there's possibly, we think there's going to be an Eagle Scout event in Fairmont Park that involves tree work, which I assume means digging wells around the trees. Needs to be done every spring, things like that. And that's an Eagle Scout project. And it's June 7th, which is a Saturday, from 9 until 12. And it's possible that one's got a little bit of a question mark, but we think it's going to happen. Okay. Then Yappy Hour, and you don't even have to have a dog to be there. It's June 12th in Fairmont Park. They do several of these around the city, so this is the chance for Fairmont Park to shine. It's June 12th, which is a Thursday evening, 6 until 9, and they'll have some food, they have some booths, they have a beer garden. Did I already say you don't have to have a dog? You can just come, but they do have a fenced off area for dogs too. If you want to bring your dog to socialize a little bit at Yappy Hour, June 12th. Fairmont Park. Yeah. That's the only one that'll be held this summer in Fairmont Park. They must set up some kind of a beer garden type situation. I don't think it's a BYOB. You can't bring your own. Okay. Just, okay. Okay. And then June 14th. So I tried to do these in order. May 10th, May 16th, June 7th, June 12th is Yappy Hour. June 14th, Saturday, from 3 to 8 is Music Stroll this year. And I think last year I told you all to put it in your calendar for this year because it's always the second Saturday in June. It's going to be from 3 to 8 p.m. We have 40 bands again coming this year. We have 14 stages. We rotate the bands every 45 minutes, and that's how we can get through 40 bands. All genres of music. It's a free event, so you can just walk into the neighborhood. You don't have to buy a ticket or plan what time you have to be there. Let's see, it is at 2828 South, 1530 East is kind of the neighborhood. We block off 3 streets, and you can just walk up and down the street and listen to music, and it's a really fun time. So we're getting ready for that. So in light of that, I would like to make a motion. Last year, the Sugar House Community Council was a stage sponsor for the main stage. And we made a contribution of $750 toward this event. And so I would like to make a motion. Actually, it's supposed to be $850 this year, but they said because we like Sugar House Community Council, we'll do $750 if someone, I would like to make a motion to spend that. You'll do the motion? And a second? Everyone in favor? Great, thank you so much. I'll be sure to let them know. And our, well, I got the bill for just the porta potties this year, $875 just for porta potties. Yeah, Heart and Soul. Yes, do you want me to tell you? I can tell you just a little bit about Heart and Soul. Heart and Soul has bands that go throughout the year and perform at assisted living facilities and places wherever there's shut-ins that can't get out to hear live music. And so they do live musical performances. The facility does not have to pay for these bands to come because Heart and Soul sponsors them to come. So Heart and Soul does a lot of grant writing and things like that to get the funds to do this. And this year we're on schedule to do 1,300 free performances for our seniors and shut-ins throughout the community. So that's a lot, yeah. And if you could actually spread the word about that, I think a lot of people hear Heart and Soul and they think, oh, that's that music festival. And it's like, no, it's so much more than that. And actually 7 counties now. So all the way from Wasatch and Davis County down to St. George now and over in Grand County in Moab. So we have bands now almost throughout the whole state going into these facilities and doing performances. And the healing power of music, you know, it just means the world to these people who can't get out to hear live music. So thank you, Judy. The event is from 3 to 8. And then we're also looking for volunteers. We have a volunteer in the audience extraordinaire. Ben comes every year and helps with all the setup and the barricades and all those things, but we have all kinds of volunteer opportunities. So everything from just greeting people when they come into the neighborhood, directing people to, you know, different porches and different bands. And we usually put out something that says, if you'd like to hear this particular band, there's a thing that tells you what time they're playing and on what porch they're going to be on. So yeah, check it out. And it's really, really a fun Saturday. It's 2828 South. It's Fillmore Street. And then 1530 East is Atkin Avenue. So if you know 27th South, it's just 1 block south of 27th South. It's 10 food trucks. So the event is free, but I always tell people you better bring a little cash for the food trucks because they don't give it away for free. So, but 10 of them. Yes. Thank you for asking. Yes.
In the raffle, because I won last year.
What did you win?
I won concert tickets to Jason Michelle and
No.
the Arts Festival. They're going to say
There also was an amazing guitar that was raffled away last year. A beautiful Taylor guitar with a hand-tooled leather case that had been donated to Heart and Soul to use for this raffle. So since you're my best friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Rumor has it that we have 2 nights at Stein Erickson's Lodge this year as part of the raffle. The Golden Hirsch, is that it? The Golden Hirsch? Yeah, that's the rumor. You got to come and find out. And raffle tickets are cheap, so you can buy a bunch of tickets and put it in for that one. All right, Fairmont Park had the stakeholder meeting for the bond. They now have a consulting group, and we had a stakeholder meeting, and they have put their initial results of their survey online, and this is kind of a long one, but I will read it to you. And then I could actually probably have Landon put it online somewhere too for us. Hang on. Okay, it's www.slc.gov/parks/projects/Fairmont Park Bond Project. So I'll have Landon put it on our website too. So, okay, did you hear that? Go Bond, Fairmont Park, Salt Lake City. If you just kind of Google it, should be able to find it. They are right now, they've kind of done their initial work, and they've kind of hit pause because they're waiting to kind of find out what's happening with the Boys and Girls Club. And maybe you'll be able to talk about that a little bit, just a little bit, yeah. They hate to do a whole plan that includes the Boys and Girls Club kind of as is, and then have to go back and do a whole nother plan if the Boys and Girls Club decides to do something different, or, so they said it's on pause. It's just on pause. Hopefully they'll be back putting together the plans by the end of the summer for what they plan to do. Okay, does anyone have any questions? That was a lot.
So is there anything going on with Allen Park? Anything new that you know of?
Do you?
I can talk about it when it's my turn.
Okay, good, yeah. And if you're interested in some of these parks, especially Allen Park and Fairmont Park, both have Facebook pages. So if you just put Friends of Allen Park, and then you'll get notification when they're having a cleanup, and they have those fairly regularly, and what's going on with them. Oh, I should probably, can I tell them about the peacock? Do we have just a minute more?
Yeah, actually, we were going to talk about this too.
Oh, well, if someone else has it, I don't want to, okay. One of the peacocks at Allen Park got hit with a vehicle, broke his leg. I think his name is Caw, that broke Caw's leg in 5 places. He got rescued. They sent him to a veterinarian who knows how to set it. I've seen the x-rays. It's awful to see all the pins they had to put in his leg. They had a GoFundMe account that's still probably collecting some funds to pay the veterinarian bills, but it looks like they're going to be able to save him, and he'll be back in the park hopefully soon. Oh, no. Okay. Could everybody hear that? If you have some extra funds, go to the GoFundMe for him. It sounds like, for those that are watching online, he's now developed an infection in his knee, bird's knees, I guess. But they're treating him, and they're hopeful that he's going to do okay. Every time he sees the vet, it's $500. So if you have some extra funds that you can put toward that, that would be really appreciated. Okay, I think that's all I have, except that we are going to have a post meeting on Monday, May 12th. It's a Zoom meeting. It's from 6 until 7, and I've sent out the Zoom invite, but if there are those of you in the audience who would like to join that, let me know, and I'll make sure you get the Zoom connection for it. So Monday, May 12th, 6 to 7. Thanks.
Thank you, Sally. The link to that GoFundMe is on the Friends of Allen Park's Facebook page. So, Laurie, 50th anniversary of the Community Council Talk.
Yes, first I'm going to talk about the art walk. I hope I don't sound like a broken record every month, but it is such a great way to support local businesses. All the venues are local businesses, and they all have great art in them, and we have more venues than normal this month. And so this art is by Bruce Robertson. I'm on the board of the Visual Art Institute, and he's the director, and his art's phenomenal. So stop by Align Real Estate and check it out. They always have a great party too. So I thought Gene Davis was going to be here and help me talk about the 50 years. May 9th. So this Friday, 6 to 9, walk around. Actually, there's another cool pop-up happening too. So a woman I know named Maggie Willis has made this beautiful large coloring book of her illustrations of Great Salt Lake. And so it's a coloring book you can purchase. Some of the funds go toward supporting Great Salt Lake, which is super important.
It's sold here.
It is sold here, that's right. And then she's gonna have a pop-up in front of Rockwood. Oh, there it is. There it is. Jen's holding it up. Yeah, she's a sweetie. So yes, it is the 50th anniversary of the community council. And I didn't get any volunteers for events last month. So we've kind of changed what we're gonna do. We are still gonna have several events. And right now, Adrian and Lynn Olson are helping me put together a timeline, and Gene Davis is helping too. And Sally said we can display it in her yard at the Heart and Soul Music Stroll. So I'll be there, and hopefully I can get a couple other volunteers to, sit there, because I can't sit that many hours in the sun. And you can see all the amazing things the community council has done the past 50 years. So we'll keep you posted on some of the other events. We'll have one at the draw, and one in Fairmont Park. I don't know what that one's gonna look like yet, but we've talked about having a concert there. So Amy Berry and I, you guys remember Amy Berry, who used to be chair here? Well, she's here tonight. And we went to lunch a month ago, and I said, please just refresh my memory. I didn't keep track, like all the things that happened when you were chair, and I was kind of blown away. So before I asked her to come up, I would love it if you would email me, and my email address is, if you just go to the council's website, all of our email addresses are there. Anything you remember that you think the council has done or was involved in that we should put on that timeline. And I think people forget what they've done. Like I know Judy's forgotten half of what she's been involved in, so much. Because Lynn Olson tells me, yeah, Judy was part of that. Amy tells me Judy was part of that. So anyway, so Amy's gonna come up and refresh our memories, and then hopefully that will stimulate your memories, and you can email me some of your favorite things that the council has done, and we'll put them on that timeline. So, because I think we're underappreciated, to be real honest. I think a lot of people have no idea. Well, they have a little bit of an idea what the council does. A lot of people still think Sugar House is its own city and that we can make up the rules. People get the council and the chamber confused all the time. So anyway, I'm always inviting people to come, and I hope you do too. And Amy, why don't you come on up? Sorry.
Thank you for the invite, Laurie. It's been a while since I've been in a community council meeting.
Things have changed since you were here.
I know, you went tech on me. So I see some of my favorite people here. So I was on the community council in 2000. I joined in, my first meeting was January 2009, and then I served for 9 years in various capacities. Secretary, vice chair, and 2 years as chair. So when I met with Lori, which I'm always happy to have lunch with Lori, I do want to say, I have been to Empanadas, and it's very good. Actually, the first time I went, you had sold out, and Adam tried to give me drinks. And then I went back a couple of days later with my dad, and he said, I never would have found this place. And I said, this is the old Petty Ford car lot. And he stopped and he went, I bought our blue Cougar here. And so, the history of all of our places run very deep. My mother grew up in Sugar House, and her parents built a house actually near Sally on Stratford and Hartford. 27th and Hartford. And that's where they grew up. And there was only 2 houses then. So when the prison had an escape and the sirens went off, the kids would just huddle because they were nervous and scared because it was all fields. So Sugar House has done nothing but always change, I think, is something that I've learned in my time here. So I want to put a plug in. They're really good. And Adam is true. He likes to give things away. So thank you for the drink and the empanadas days later. Anyway, so when I was talking to Sally, I certainly have not been involved for 50 years, but the Sugar House Community Council is a huge part of our connection to the city and our community. And it's only as strong as everybody here, right? It's only as strong as the people who join the community council and give their time and their talents and their efforts, but then the people in the community who also then participate. And so when I joined, I think we're in a transition of reputation and effectiveness. And so all of the things that I remember that I was involved in were not solely me. I may take credit for them here, but I don't want to. They were really a reflection of us working really hard with the city and city officials and the people at the city. So they may not be elected people, but they're the people that do the stuff, right? You always know there's the people, and then there's the people that do things, and those are the people you want to know. So some of the things that I was able to work with Judy and Sally, and there's Steve and George, see you guys, that we worked on, that we accomplished during my tenure, were some pretty amazing things. I think I look back on some of the things that I'm really proud that I was part of. And one of the first things was getting that hawk light on 12th East and 21st South. That was a game changer for my community. And I worked with then the RDA to do that. It was at the tail end of the redevelopment timeline. And let me tell you, it took 2 years for them to finally install it. But boy, when they did, it's been a game changer. And then we've had multiple hawk lights throughout the business district that certainly do. And that only took 7 years. There you go. Oh, I remember when, see, his name's escaping me at the moment, came to me and he was like, let's put one here. And I said, well, here's how you do it. But yes, it does take time. And I think that's the key, is you have to be committed to that. But who remembers now it's the empty lot across the street from Campfire Lounge and what was Snellgrove's? The Ute car wash. So the property owner thought he could tear it down under the guise of night, and he got caught and he was stopped. Well, we had a half torn down car wash for way too long. And I worked really hard with the city to get it dealt with, and they wouldn't do anything. And then we got a new administration with Mayor Viskowski, and she was like, well, let's figure out what we can do. And lo and behold, we got that thing torn down. So it's like, yeah, I'm really excited. I got a half torn down car wash, completely torn down. But those are the things. Not everything is glossy and shiny and, flashing lights like a hawk light. But it was a huge deal. And while it still is an empty lot, it's much better than what we had. I do want to then focus on some of the bright and shiny ones that I super enjoy still to this day. And that's Fairmont Park. So the pond. Who remembers the pond before? Oh, good, a lot of you. So I don't have to describe it. It was a mud fest, right? Because we have natural springs, mud. I wrote a CIP project to upgrade the pond, and working with the people that do things, Tyler Murdoch at the city parks took charge of that project. And I think my CIP project was maybe a B, maybe a B minus. He took that thing to an A. And I got to work with him, and we talked, and he had ideas, and it was wonderful. And what we have now is amazing, far better than my idea too. So when you forge those relationships, you can create really great ideas that I would have never thought of.
Yesterday, the school kids were proud of that pond.
Yeah, see, that was not I did not have fish in my vision. None of that was part of me. So, but that was where he knew he could maybe get some more money to make this project even better. The dog park, okay, that was me. That was me. I think that dog park should be Amy's dog park, but that was me. And a big process. And then consequently writing the CIP project for the water in the dog park was also me. But because those are things like I wanted to use those, and those predated the pickleball courts. And so a lot of it too was A, I have a dog, I would like a dog park near me, and also B, we wanted to activate that side of the park because it was a dead zone, right? So there's like a couple of those things. Judy and I worked really hard. The original plan for the streetcar extension had it going in and stopping in what is now Monument Plaza. And boy, did we work really, really, really hard to make that not happen, right? And we fought with, well, we strongly disagreed. We didn't fight, but with the RDA and the city. And at their celebration, I remember DJ Baxter came up to me and he said, you know, you were right. This is better. And it wasn't just me. That was the thing. But the community kind of can rally on its own. But when you have an effective community council, you can work together to have a more amplified voice and a more amplified relationship with the right people who can then help you. Because the city, I think, ultimately does really care about what communities want, but there's also a balance with what the city needs. So sometimes you have to realize that. But we did that. We fought really hard to realign Sugarmont to Elm through that development. It's a private road, but it's open to the public. One of the things I knew we needed very, very intensely was more east-west connections from 13th East to wherever, so that the load wasn't always on 21st South. And now we have Stringham, which runs up where Shopko was. When we were fighting to get Elm and Sugarmont aligned, Stringham wasn't even a thing. Shopko was still there. So you don't know what's in the future, but with an eye towards how we move and how we have our connections, I think sometimes the community is the one that can really advocate for those things. And then I guess one of my last things is the old DI. So the mural, that was me and Mark Morris. And we had some events there until Mark and I were like, we're tired and we're not gonna do anymore. But we wanted to really create a vibrant place. And I got those murals painted with funding from the city to thwart the graffiti. Right, so when you do that right, you can make a nice place. You can make a place for people to congregate when you have events, but also then you create maybe something that stops other things, right? So we haven't had a whole lot of graffiti on that building ever, and it's because of those murals. So there's some fun things that we've done too, and then consequently, we've had some great murals happen in other buildings throughout Sugar House, and so I'm always happy to see all of those things. Well, that's I know. That's Judy. That's Judy. I had nothing to do with that. That's Judy. Judy had a lot to do with a lot of things. Lynn's had things to do. We all had little pieces, so I feel weird saying like I did these things because I did them in conjunction. A couple of them I did on my own, but it really was because I was with the community council. And so, Laurie. Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah, poor Ed Butterfield. He was the project manager for the RDA, and Judy and I would go to him and we'd look at what the plan was. And who knows? We all know what the Paseo is, right? So it's the mid-block walkway by where the mushroom company was. I don't know what's there now, and Blind Rabbit. And that walkway was. We had nothing to do with the city, but different property owners who were hard to deal with. And luckily I don't get paid, so I didn't have to deal with them, but Ed did. And Ed would say like, oh no, we're not gonna get a walkway. Those two can't, get along. And Judy and I would be like, no, Ed, we need it. So he'd go back and then we'd meet again later and he'd be like, I tried, but it's not gonna happen. And Judy and I would go, no, Ed, we need it. I think we did that 3 times. And then finally he was like, we're getting a Paseo. So we didn't have to harp on it. We just had to say, no, Ed, go try again. Go back and do something else. And Ed worked his magic. And that was, again, just fruitful of good relationships with people at the city and us having a vision, but also part of our master plan to say like, no, these are things that we need to work on. And that walkway is a huge deal in terms of how we as pedestrians can move about that space. So yeah, I forgot about this. Anyway, thanks for having me. I'm really glad to see all my favorite people still. I look forward to all your accomplishments. Yeah.
So the mural that was at the DI, and it said Sugar House. If you go into the library, that exact font, that mural is actually on the floor in the room where the fireplace is. When I was talking to the designers, you know, because I was interested, like, why did you pick this? Why did you pick that? Well, that's a historic font in Sugar House. I'm like, it's not, but you know. But anyway, there it is on the library floor. I think it's pretty cool. So.
I never said that.
No, I know you didn't. I know they just gathered what they wanted, you know. So it had an impact, you know. So yeah.
No, that font was not. No, that's not.
Give Amy a round of applause. She's a legend. And everybody else. Okay. Yvonne and I were talking the other day. We were wondering, is there anybody who would be interested if we had a shred event sponsored by the council, shred all of our documents and bring a truck in? Show of hands. Okay. We're going to work on that. Shred event. Okay. Let's start construction. Leah. Let's finish construction.
Hi, everybody. I'm Leah Jaramillo. I'm a public engagement lead with Salt Lake City over Sugar House projects. I am going to read to you from some updates, so I'm not multitasking up here. Let's start. 11th East. All the landscaping got put in. It looks really nice. Yeah. The drip irrigation, everything is working. Bike racks, as you might imagine, things like bike racks are delayed with tariffs and imports and all sorts of things happening. So those are expected to come the end of this month. So installation in June, but that's awesome. There's a bunch of bike racks going in the business district. I think that the streetlights are back on. It's been a long time. There have been lots of issues, theft, vandalism, old conduit that had broken that we didn't even touch that was under different parts of sidewalk, just lots and lots of things contributing to streetlight failure. So give me a text if you see it that it's not on, but it should be back on now. So that's great. One project finally done. Also, I don't know if it was in Sugar House, but there was an active group of people who had concerns about the deep mulching on the trees. Yeah. So I saw it on Nextdoor, but I'm usually like, who are these people? Not like, oh, what neighborhood are they talking about? You know, so because it's such a wild place. Anyway, I appreciate that community input because they went directly to the urban forestry team who came to the project team, who got the contractors, landscaper out there within a couple of days, and they adjusted the mulch. So, right, like community input, like Amy was saying, it makes a difference. So, you know, to call the project team or, to call urban forestry and they will get it handled. And we know street trees are really important in Sugar House and in the city. So thank you for that. 13th East has begun. Caitlin is here from the project team. If you have more in-depth questions about certain locations, she can certainly help you. But they are working all the way along the east side from Elgin, which is essentially the border of Mill Creek and Salt Lake, down by the Harmons, all the way up to about the ramps, the freeway ramps. On the east side, we're adding wide sidewalks, moving street lighting. They have a single daytime lane closure that is going to help us avoid a lot of night work in the far south end, which is all residential. There will be night work when we get to paving, but that will not be until like July-ish. As they mentioned, Parkway is closed, but it's expected to reopen on Friday. And then Stratford will close Monday the 12th through Friday the 16th. So I think they're doing storm drain, catch basins at the intersections, and then doing the curbs and head ramps and those things. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yep. Either, in lots of places we don't have storm drain. It's just like sheet flow, or we have really, really old infrastructure. So 13th East is not a full depth rebuild like 21st, but we are improving things. When we move the curb line, we have to move all the drainage as well. So we are also looking at closing that super wonky intersection at Highland and 13th that looks like this by the coffee shop and the World of Games and Yanni's. That's going to be really complicated to figure out because the biggest traffic movement is from 13th onto Highland, not the other way. So we've got to keep that open while we build the rest of it. So it's like my analogy that I give you all the time. It's like having a dinner party while you're replacing the carpet. You kind of have to keep moving people around as you do something and then move them back again. So we'll have more updates for you as we do that. We need to talk to some of the businesses in that area first. Yes, ma'am. The whole project is, they have 6 months, which is amazing. That is also what happens when federal money is applied to a project and UDOT is in charge. They are able to move things a lot faster because they get I don't want to say the big bucks, but the bigger bucks. So that one is, and again, it's not a full depth reconstruction. So that one is, I would say, November. I think they're aiming for quicker than that, but we're going to say November today because they've only been in there for a week. So we'll give them a little leeway. The bulk of the work between 21st and 80 will be at night. And we will have more updates for you on that. But they're going to focus on getting the south side done both directions first because the north end is so complicated and they would like to give the 21st South team as much space as possible so that we're not right on top of each other at the same time. Because if you can't get up 21st, then you definitely don't want to be impacted on 13th, right? So we will be back to tell you more about when that work is going to happen. I think I've told you before, we're going to use UDOT's special fancy high mod asphalt, which they can put down 6 inches at a time. There's a great video on UDOT social media. If you haven't seen it, they're doing great stuff on social. They got their like pavement engineer talking about the chemical compounds, but the good news of that is that it goes down faster and quicker and it means less time for impacts for businesses in that section. 21st South asphalt going down this week. It is painful, we know. You can see they're 6 inches down in the ground. They've done the south side between 7th and 9th. They're gonna flip over, they'll pave this week or into early next week, and then they will put traffic on new asphalt finally, and then they'll start on the north side. So we'll still be in a 1-in-1, 1 lane each way. There will, I think right now you are not supposed to turn left. People are doing it anyway. I'm gonna ask you to follow the signs and make your own decisions. That's because there's just not enough space, but that's why we're also focusing on that west end. So the sooner we get that put back together, we'll have more free flow, which should relieve some of the congestion in the middle. And then they're looking at a one-way, like we had to do last year for the final stretch of the project later in the summer. We don't have firm dates yet, but that will be later in the summer for the final section in the middle. So that project is on schedule to complete also September-ish. I think that's it. Did I miss any other road projects? Go ahead. On Elm? I thought they were done on Elm, but I am happy to look into that. You know, I never even noticed that because I'm always turning right to go to Smith's right there. I didn't even look the other way. I will check it out and I will ask. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much for updates. Are you done with the diversion on Hollywood?
I really want to say yes, but I really don't know, you know, because we have so much, we still have 3 quarters, right, of the work to still do. So I expect you will see, whether we detour them to Hollywood or not, you will see more traffic on Hollywood when we go into the one-way. So I will email you like I do. They're great. They have a Hollywood Ave Rocks email address, and it goes to a bunch of people, and I send them notices. So go ahead.
The landscaping on 11th at 13th is really lovely, but I kind of worry about the long-term care and how frequently that's going to be a weed. It looks like it could go in my yard really well, but I weed all the time. And then if you look at Fairmont, all the rock borders are collecting weeds. I mean, there's weeds in these nice, beautiful median strips, but
So 9th East is a totally different story that I will talk to you about afterwards. But as part of all of the planning for these bond projects in Sugar House, there was a concerted effort to coordinate directly with the commercial business district, the CBD, which are those guys in the golf carts that you see out there managing the S-line landscaping. They do the lights and other things throughout the business district. Businesses in the district pay a fee. And then the city, I think, gives them some money as well. So that was coordinated and accounted for in their budget requests over the last couple of years since the projects have started. So that has been accounted for. Other bond projects have, like Third West, 6 North, which is under construction now, have been coordinating directly with public lands. If you look at the budget that is out right now, that I'm sure Sarah will encourage you to look at, you can see that there are line items to increase funding for public lands to do that kind of street maintenance. But you're right, that is a gap that we had to kind of coordinate. Erica.
I don't know if you would be able to answer this, but on the night right around Kensington and such, they did the curb work.
Yep.
It seemed to have just stopped and no progress.
Kensington Byway is under construction. I believe they went to Main Street because UTA is doing some track work. And so it was an opportunity for them to double down while the train was not running. So they did go to Main. They will be coming back. But they've made pretty good progress. That byway comes from Foothill all the way down. That's what all that traffic control is on 7th East, kind of randomly in the middle, where you drive by and you go, oh, look, they're fixing the median. There's something nice, not weedy there. That's actually an east-west pedestrian bike corridor and crossing. But yeah.
Because they created a bump out and then they have a trench and then they put orange cones out there. So that means it's like one lane that you can weave your way through to get on the Kensington.
If you Google, I'm happy to find it for you, but if you Google Kensington Byway Project or SLC Kensington Byway, there is a hotline. It goes to a lovely woman named Amalia, and she can probably give you more information.
Makes sense when you said, so it's nice to know.
Yeah. We do try. I know it doesn't seem like it, but we do actually try. So I will just also add, since we were talking about tracks, UTA is doing a ton of tracks maintenance on the red line, which runs from downtown up to the U. The red line will be out of service from May 24th through the middle of August while they do a bunch of tracks repair. So if you're going to the Mexico-Switzerland game at the stadium, there will not be track service. If you're going out to the U, they are running additional bus service more frequently on their existing routes. So definitely, if that's an area that you only frequent sometime for events, check out the Ride UTA site, because that's going to be most of the summer. Go ahead. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I will be sure to share that with them. Anything else? Back to you, sir. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Leah. I think we're going to move on to Hannah. Get your slides up.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah from the mayor's office. I'm going to wait for my slides.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm actually gonna skip one. Okay, I'm just gonna dive right in. So some of you may be aware that we have some fun landscaping ordinances in the city that may or may not be a little complicated. And so there's been some efforts to make those less complicated, which is great. And so that means I'm just here to remind you all that in Salt Lake City, we are not allowed to have turf in our front yards, park strips, or side yards. I'm sure you guys know that. If you have turf in your yard right now and you're hearing this and you're panicking, it's okay. So this is really just a reminder. Backyards are okay, but everywhere else we don't like it. It creates a lot of urban heat, which we already have enough of. We don't want any more. It doesn't allow for stormwater to absorb into our ground, so it creates more runoff issues that can lead to flooding, and then also introduces microplastics into our stormwater, which is not something we want more of. So that ordinance has been in place since 1995. So this is really just a reminder. There are a number of property owners that have put in turf, maybe just completely unknowingly, which is fine. And so the city has been working with those property owners to give them an 18-month grace period to hopefully get that remediated. So it's been a long process. If you have any questions, let me know. There's also, sorry, that's kind of blurry, but there is a QR code down here if you want to learn more about that or if you have any questions. So part of our messaging campaign that you're seeing right now is reaching out to landscaping companies to make sure that they know that that is not permitted in the city.
But they'll sell it to you anyway.
They will. They will.
So like, I know it's wrong. You would think they wouldn't, but they will.
Definitely. Yeah. So this is just a reminder. Tell your neighbors. In that same vein, if you have grass that you're sick of watering, Public Utilities worked with Utah State to identify a blend of different grasses that require about 30% less water than our average lawn in Salt Lake City. And they are selling that seed by the bag if you're interested. I watched a couple YouTube videos. It's really easy to plant. You just kind of let your current grass die. You don't have to rip it up or anything like that. You just kind of then seed it and water it a couple times until it's able to germinate, and then it'll start growing. It's $18 per 5-pound bag, which covers roughly 1,000 square feet. And it's available for anyone in Salt Lake City's public utilities area, which includes Mill Creek and Cottonwood Heights as well. So yeah, hopefully that QR code is big enough. I guess that's kind of small, but if you're interested, let me know and I can get you connected to the person to buy some new grass seed. Okay, now we'll jump into the fun stuff. For those of you who aren't aware, the mayor presented her 2026 budget proposal yesterday to the city council. If you scan this QR code, it'll take you to the YouTube video about 10 minutes in when she starts talking about it. It's a great speech, great chance to learn about the mayor's priorities, but I wanted to touch on a couple of things. So just kind of as a summary, and I know that Councilmember Young will talk about this from the council perspective as well. The general fund budget is a proposed $512 million. It's pretty much a flat budget. There aren't any significant increases anywhere. The increases that you do see are mostly related to just increased costs, inflation, things like that. This also means that there are no major tax increases and no property tax increases either. But I think the mayor is already knows from the experts that looking ahead to next fiscal year, it's unlikely that we'll be able to meet our growing demands as a city without considering a property tax increase. So nothing to worry about now, but something to be aware of on that horizon. One of the questions asked earlier, and I think Representative Wynn left, was about public safety and kind of this large approach to public safety. And a big part of the budget focuses on the mayor's public safety plan that she introduced back in January. Although we're seeing citywide crime continuing to decrease, which is great, we know that there's a lot more work that can be done. So if you remember in that public safety plan, there were 27 actions that were recommended that we can do as a city. 8 of those actions are already complete, which is great, and 19 of those actions are currently underway. And then 7 of those additional actions are supported in this proposed budget, which is good. One of the things I want to highlight is this Clean City team. I hope you guys can see this. Sorry, I just realized I'm standing like directly in front of the screen. Clean City team, which would introduce 5 new full-time employees. Those are the only new employees being introduced to the city. So only 5 new employees this year that are being proposed. that will be a dedicated crew to address graffiti, abandoned properties, trash, bad lighting situations, things like that all around the city. We already have a graffiti team. They're just going to be pulled over from parks, from public lands, which maybe doesn't super make sense to house them there, over to public services so that this team can really have a holistic approach to making sure that our city is clean and presentable. And certain things that, maybe attract crime almost, if there's a spot that's like graffitied, garbaged, dirty, not well lit, that might be a little crime magnet. And so we want to make sure that this team addresses spots like that throughout the city. Next, I'm sure a lot of you have received notice at this point, both from public utilities and from waste and recycling, that there are some proposed increases in those services. Let's see, last year there was a stabilization rate introduced in public by to help pay for additional infrastructure. That stabilization rate will be falling off bills at the end of this fiscal year. So on July 1, that rate will fall off your bills, but then there will be this new increase introduced. So I don't know if it'll exactly even out with that stabilization fee being taken away, but it won't. Okay, it'll still be more, about $10 a month for low water users, which is my understanding that most Salt Lake City water users are low water users, which is great. But that is one of the reasons why we have to introduce this new fee structure, because we're saving water. We're really good at saving water, but that also means that public utilities is getting less revenue every year. And they are a private enterprise fund, so they have to make all of the money that they need each year to maintain and run their whole system. They can't take any money from taxes, which I guess works out well, but I understand that can be tricky when that means your monthly bill is going up. Waste and recycling, also, they have a plan to have a steady increase over a period of years, and they made that decision based on recommendations from residents that rather than having one big increase every few years, we'd rather have smaller increases each year. If you have any questions, please let me know. I included the public utilities line here that you can call as well, but I know there might be questions about this, and I'm happy to talk more about it. So knowing that those are just a couple of the things I wanted to highlight in the budget proposal, this budget is not finalized. And the next part of the process is the city council gets to review it and have public hearings, and will not adopt the budget until June 30th. So if you're looking to get engaged, Tuesday, May 20th and Tuesday, June 3rd are those two public hearings where you can go in person, or you can email or call anytime with feedback. You can send that to me, Councilmember Young. We'll make sure that it gets in the right spot. And then last, I just wanted to highlight some exciting news. These are our new city flags. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. I'm really grateful to live in Salt Lake City, and I'm really grateful to work for our mayor. Yes, yeah. You guys should drive by City Hall. It's a really nice view right now. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yes. Yeah. 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 Well, I appreciate that feedback. Thank you. Any other questions for me? Great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for tearing up the room. So I have been asked several times today by people, is there a way to buy a set of the flags?
Right now, no.
Not yet. I'll tell them that. The city flags? Cool. Okay, I think we are moving into District 7. Sarah.
Okay, I have a lot of information. I'm going to try and do this as quickly and yet thoroughly as possible. So just to cover what I will be talking about, we're going to talk really quickly some like shout outs, fun facts. I'll address the questions about the parks. We'll talk safety real quick. We'll hit on flags in the budget. And I am ending with everyone's favorite MU consolidation. So if you're thinking of leaving early, don't do it because you'll miss out on the best part. Okay. So first and foremost, if we're going to name the dog park after Amy, and he just left, we need to name the new S-Line station after Bill Knowles. So we've all said it here. I'm saying right now that is a future request of Sugar House Community Council. Keep that in mind. And apparently he says that you have to be dead for that, but I don't think that's true. So anyway, so just highlighting that as a future ask and need. Second of all, I want to make sure that we all have the chance to celebrate where we are. So if you don't know, the Neighborhood Hive had its 3rd birthday party here just a couple weeks ago. So as I'm sure you can imagine, this business has survived everything. They have survived, dealing like with post-pandemic issues. They have dealt with construction. They have and continued. And through all of that, this has been like the home and hub of our community here. So I know a lot of us come to be able to, join in the neighbors. I am just going to make one more plug that because I do it, you can shop here and be in the meeting. And so I'm going to put in a plug for something new I tried today, which is the ice cream. So I didn't have dinner before I showed up and I rolled in and lo and behold, there's ice cream. And I was like, perfect, I will eat my Oreo ice cream. It was fabulous. I ate the whole thing. This is empty. That's why I can hold it up. Anyway, I think it's important to be able to show not just our support by being here, but also by shopping local. And they won't say it to you, but I'll say it to you. Please shop here. It does make a difference. And especially because they're hosting this after hours, I would appreciate your fiscal support in terms of participating. So thank you for that. Okay. Let's chat Fairmount Park Boys and Girls Club. So this has been a fun one. So the Boys and Girls Club, for those of you who aren't familiar, within the Fairmount Park space is located just past the dodgy tennis courts on Sugarmont Avenue and down from the Aquatic Center. That building needs help, okay? And everyone agrees on that. So the building itself is kind of bursting at capacity in terms of what its original lifespan was meant to be. And the Boys and Girls Club has a vision for what the future could look like. Well, that vision actually started 10 years ago. 10 years ago. This is like pre-pandemic, team. And so as a part of that, there were conversations at the time related to the coming bond and what could that do and could that help in this area and what does that help look like? So because of that historical nature of this conversation, there's just a lot of I remembers, okay? And those I remembers make it really challenging to be able to say, yes, but here is our today and now. And so even though previous mayor administrations may have told you like, oh, of course, we'll write you a check. That is not how we do things. And that does not follow the policies of the city. And so that is not what we do. So as a part of that, I want to give credit where credit's due. The administration's been wonderful to partner with. They did send a letter over 8 months ago to the Boys and Girls Club asking them, tell us your plan. Like, we need to know your plan because we're working really hard to get our plan moving because we have a lot of different funding streams that are wrapped up in this project. It is not just the GeoBond funding. It is the 1.5 million that I advocated for related to safety, lighting, and the bathrooms. It's the bathroom study. It is also the Fairmont basketball court. It's all in it together. And so we really need to know kind of what that plan is. The challenge is they do have a vision of what that looks like, but they don't necessarily have the funds raised. And so they're in kind of this catch-22 of, do they say, yes, we want to move forward with our vision and we're going to really hopeful in raising those funds, so please build accordingly? Or do they say, no, never mind, like that's just not likely in the current economic stressors, leave us where we are and develop the park around us. So we're actively working with them, but that's just the history of the why that sometimes we keep hitting these pauses related to Fairmont Park. I don't love it. I know the administration doesn't love it, and I know the neighbors don't either. So we're really working hard, but I'm here to tell you that everyone I've talked to, both from Boys and Girls Club, Fairmont Park, the city, everyone has the best of intentions. It's just trying to deal with some of those uncertainties to get it to move. They do not own their parcel. We own their parcel. And that's part of this challenge, is because their lease is actually ending on that parcel. And so they're going to need to make a decision about, do they want to release? And if they do they want to swap their lease for another portion of city-owned land that might be better situated to address their design? Okay. Allen Park. So Allen Park finished its design phase. And so we're in the space of, we have a vision, but we don't have money. So as part of the conversation related to money and what those next steps look like, the city is actively working through our finance department on what it looks for a second issuing of one of our bonds that could potentially provide funding to be able to support a phase 1 of Allen Park. Just to be clear, as with all of our city visioning projects, we vision for what it could be regardless of funds. And then we have to come up with the funds in phases to be able to implement that vision over time. And so it does take time. So just so you know, like I said, that is in process. We're not the only park who has some of those needs. And so the city is looking at more broad scale what it looks like related to a second issuing of a bond. 1300 East. Okay, so I have a couple little fun facts from you that I've learned from the city and working with constituents that I think are good for everyone to know. First and foremost, the 1300 East. I was at all of the road, community feedback meetings, and I put multiple Post-it notes on there saying, stop the left-hand turns off of Parkway onto 1300 East. It is dangerous, and I do not think it's right. And then I looked at the plans, and they have not gotten rid of them. And I was like, what? I was like, I very clearly put multiple Post-it notes on there, and I feel like my voice was not heard. So when I went to meet the contractor to ask this very question, I received some information that I just want to share more broadly, which is that because 1300 East is receiving federal funds, if they change access on the street, which includes eliminating things like left-hand turns, they had to do a whole environmental study, which would have been like $300,000 more, and it would have delayed the project. So the city was super smart, and they were like, you know what? We can change access after the project finishes and not have to go through that whole process of time and money. So that's not a promise that they're going to address it, but I did just want to share, because I know that a lot of times as residents, you have that experience where you're like, I gave this feedback on a Post-it note. Where is it? And that there are different focus, or different considerations that had to be given. And when Lynn explained that to me, I was like, thank you, Lynn. I hear you say not yet. So, okay. Moving forward, back to Detective Fallows. 3 things I've learned about safety. 1, so when you are in the Sugar House parking lot or any parking lot doing your shopping, when you get out of a car, use your clicker, if you have that, to lock your car. Why, might you ask? Because it means your car lights flash. And when they flash, it tells the people who are going and trying different cars to break into that your car is already locked. It's a visual they're using to be able to target certain cars. So even if you're the person who locks your door and closes it and then doesn't use your little clicker to make it flash, it's good to do in a repetitive fashion because it deters people from coming to your car. I did not know this, but I learned it on a Salt Lake PD ride along, and I was like, that is good information that I think should be more broadly shared. Second of all, don't let people into buildings that are secure behind you. So we're actually seeing this happen with some of our apartment buildings down in the core of Sugar House, where you have to badge in, to be able to say I'm a resident, but then they're leaving the door open and they're letting other people in thinking they're being friendly to, welcome a guest of or family member of another resident there. And then we see those people hanging out in the lobby like they're waiting for someone. And then when the lobby is empty, they're rifling through and stealing packages. So this is one we can control. So if you're visiting any of those areas or you have family members who live there, we're just trying to get the word out. Please don't let people in if they're not neighbors. And yes, that does kind of remind me of a Seinfeld where he like closes the door and the person's like, I live here. And he's like, I don't know you, I'm sorry. And that could happen, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So keep that in mind. Last but not least, related to safety, Julie and I had this huge epiphany like 2 weeks ago. So a lot of times we've heard at city council that people call about issues on the S line and dispatch tells them you need to call UTA. We're not the S line. And then they call UTA and they're like, hey, these are the issues we're seeing on the S line. And UTA is like, that's not us. You have to call Salt Lake PD. And so we were like, what's going on there? Like, why does this keep happening? So when I tell you, you'll be like, that makes sense. So what's happening is when you say there's an issue on the S line, the dispatch hears that as that's an issue in the cars of the train, and that is on the S line. But then when you call Salt Lake PD, they hear it. Wait, that's not true. Salt Lake PD hears it as in the cars. UTA hears it as, oh, it's on the S line, like the greater trail. So good news, working with Chief Red, Detective Fellows, and others, we have clarified that this is an issue with dispatch, and they're going to ask the follow-up question of, do you mean in the cars or on the trail? But you as residents can help us out by clarifying that, because in most cases, we're talking about on the S line, we're talking about the actual trail or the land that's surrounding it or the pathway. And if you just say it's not on the train, I'm talking about the pathway, then Salt Lake PD is much more quick to respond. So fun fact, pass it to your neighbors. It's just helpful in terms of, especially if we're calling in to get things addressed, that we provide more clarity. Flags. Yes.
Differentiate between South Salt Lake and Salt Lake. Because on that S line, when you hit, is it State Street?
Yeah.
Everything,
Fifth East. It's Fifth East. Yeah, it's Fifth East. Fifth East. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes our police will like go a little over towards State Street, but it's Fifth East is the hard line. So yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, you want to be clear about like whether you're in Salt Lake or South Salt Lake in terms of making the call to make sure the right people respond. So the flags were last night. I too applaud not just our administration, but so here's the thing that I want to highlight for all of you that's maybe a little bit different. I think that I was certainly in the camp of like fly the flags. Like tell me how much it's going to cost and like that's what we need to do. But you've seen behind us that we're trying to run a flat budget and not raise property taxes. That is the beauty of the solution. So we are in 100% compliance with the law, in case you're wondering. So that is kudos to like the mayor's team, our city attorney, Mark Cottrell did an amazing job. But for those of you who were curious, it's like, oh my gosh, are my taxpayer dollars going to be going to pay for those fines? The answer is no. We are in 100% compliance with the law related to the selection of those flags. Transparency's sake, I will tell you, I got emails like within minutes of people who were both adamantly opposed to the city taking this action and in support of. And so, it's important to be aware that we do have like a diversity of actions. I will say, and I did this behind closed doors, so I'm trying to do this here. I know the children that this impacts. And I know what it means for them to feel safe, and that I will always stand on behalf of the love and support of our community for children and adults who need those additional supports. So you're welcome to send me your feedback. I will take it. And like I said, it's good for me to hear all sides of an argument. So please don't hesitate. But in case you're wondering why I voted the way I did, that is why. Let's talk budget real quick, and then MU. All right, budget. So Hannah said on June 30th. That is not correct. We would hope to do it well before then. So we have to do it by June 30th, but usually city council tries to target earlier in the month of June because it's important for our residents to be able to know about those utility rate increases as soon as possible. And so in terms of timeline, I always just like to clarify, like it has to happen by that date. It may happen before then, and that we do try and be, thoughtful about how quickly we try and move to help inform people about upcoming bills. Second, I'll touch on the utilities needs. So the utilities discussion is really difficult here in Sugar House because we have a lot of residents that are on fixed incomes. And when you all of a sudden say this bill that you've had for years and years and years is continuing to rise and yet your water usage is staying the same, that can be really challenging in terms of like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not using more resources. Why are you charging me more money? And the best way I can explain kind of the overall issue is this. When we drive down a street and there are potholes, it's easy as a resident to be like, that street needs to be repaired. It's a mess. It needs to be redone. And we can point to it and say, yes, I see where my taxpayer dollars are going, and I am so glad that's getting fixed. When we have to make upgrades to utilities and sewers, nobody sees that. When you turn on your faucet, you know that clean water is coming because Salt Lake Utilities does an incredible job, and all of us as residents have come to rely on that. But it's important to know that our utilities infrastructure is 75 years plus old, and that the city has done an incredible job of extending the majority of the infrastructure well beyond its lifespan. And so we are now in the space of having only charged for services for a really long time and not putting in money towards the replacement of this infrastructure, to now it's like, no, we have to replace that infrastructure because it's otherwise we end up like any of the other cities you've seen across the nation that are having water quality issues, and we don't want that to be us. So a lot of these have to do with leveling those rates over the next significant amount of time to be able to replace that infrastructure and to not be in this space of, oh my gosh, we need like all new like infrastructure, and yet we have no money prepared to be able to do that work. Now, as a part of that, Salt Lake City Council, in partnership with Public Utilities, did a rate study. I have a whole packet that you can read that talks about what are the costs associated with the replacement needs of the infrastructure, the utilities and services we're providing, and what are our options in terms of being able to cover those costs through the efforts of the city. The city has made kind of a middle ground solution. We didn't go fee for everyone, which is what happened last year and everyone hated. So we were not going to do that again. But then we're also not going to do it's just based on usage because that's a variable that we can't control for. And it could lead us in that space of not having money for the infrastructure even after an adjustment. So there's kind of a middle road. I'm happy to talk to you more about it. I will be the first to say whenever I get something in the mail that's like, we're raising the price of your Netflix. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, it's the same service. How could you be raising my subscription? And that's a natural reaction. So any help that I can give in terms of providing you additional information about all of the considerations of the city, please let me know. I'm really happy to do that and really appreciate your help in terms of helping to explain to neighbors who are not here tonight what is going on behind the scenes, because again, it's just not something you see because it's underground, which brings me to everyone's favorite. All right, let's talk mixed use consolidation team. Okay, so as many of you may know, we are having a conversation about mixed use consolidation of zones. The why, high level. Right now, we have crazy amounts of zones all over the place across the city, and that makes it really challenging, both from an administrative burden, and we're trying to reduce the costs of administration and enforcement, but also related to individual projects knowing what they can and can't do in different areas of town. And sometimes it's different based on the same street. So you could be in one property and then go to the property next door, and it has totally different like rules and requirements, and that can be really confusing and difficult, even for individual property owners, not developers, who are like, well, I bought it thinking I could do what my neighbor did to that property. And the answer is no, you can't. It's not zoned that way. So the city has actively been working on being able to consolidate. There are pros to consolidation, like lower administrative costs and more clarity related to it. And there are cons related to consolidation. One of those cons is that the degree of personalization that we've seen in the Sugar House area related to some of those properties now all has to get aggregated up into a single, like, this is what it is for everyone for one of those more consolidated zones. So when you're taking 4 zones that have 4 different rules and requirements and you're putting them all together, you have to go through a process of saying, okay, so then how do we merge these with a very key property consideration, which is one of the existing property rights. So I'm going to go through a couple of items that I've heard from, and then I'm going to tell you about a time you can come and learn more about this if you want to talk mixed use. So first and foremost, I've gotten emails from residents who are saying, I really want to see the north side of 2100 South, so think Sterling Furniture and the Wells Fargo building. I would like to see that as MU8 because it's currently zoned to transition into MU11. So the challenge with MU8 is that it is a lower height than currently Sugar House Business District 1 is allowed for. The current height that's maximized there is 105 feet. MU8 is 85 feet. So as a part of that, I had this discussion during the walking tours with Nick and others. And I was like, can we do this? Like, I know the community supports it. We've talked to Wells Fargo ad nauseum. Like, this is something that would make sense to our community. And the answer in short was no. And the reason for no was twofold. Was number one, because we would be taking from what they currently can do to a different one, that's a loss of property rights. And when you lose a property right, that sets up the city to be in litigation with the next property owner who can say, you took a property right from me, and we wouldn't have a very strong foundation with which to fight that, and it would be additional cost to the city. So downzoning can be requested by the individual property owners as part of this process. We have put that out there. Do you want to know how many property owners I've heard from north of 2100 who would like to be downzoned? 0. And I say that noting 2 things. Number 1, loss of property right. But 2, and this is the bigger piece, even for those people who are like, I agree, it shouldn't be taller. I think it should be lower. They also recognize that by lowering themselves twofold, they would lose out on a potential financial benefit to them. And it doesn't guarantee their neighbors aren't going to do it too. And so because of those pressures, we haven't heard anyone who's saying, please downzone me. And that's one of the issues that we're facing right now. Now, if you know of people who are like, please downzone, have them reach out, because like I said, I am more than happy to facilitate that conversation. But when we've reached out, we haven't heard from that. Next up, north, we've been talking about increasing the height related to affordability. This is a tricky one. So I'm going to highlight 3 aspects of the south side of 2100 South. So number 1 is that they can currently build in the new proposed to 125. Okay, 125 is not a current buildable height. And the reason for that is because you start with wood frame construction will get you up to what the current buildings are. Okay, and that's around 105, a little over, you can go up to 110. Okay, so 125, you can't even get that high without switching to steel frame. And steel frame is not something that will pencil from a budgetary standpoint until you reach closer to the 180. So in terms of that 125 for people who are it's going to be 10 feet higher, we don't expect that to be in terms of the current economics because it's just not feasible to transition to a new building type at this time. Now, did I know any of this before I talked to planning? I did not. So if you're news to me, well, welcome. As a part of that, the other piece to that is that we've heard feedback from the neighbors, and I agree with this feedback, that we don't want to build a canyon. So we don't want to see what's already on the far side of, the west side of Highland Drive replicated on the Barnes and Noble block, block by block. Just to be clear, the current owners can do that right now here today without a single zoning change. And to be honest, that is what we should expect as a community because it's what allows them to maximize that land use. As a part of that, I am the first to say we need to find other solutions because there is a beautiful new building on Highland and the rents in that property are double what my mortgage is. So by building all of those buildings does not guarantee us any sort of affordability, and it does create this vision that's going to be challenging for us. Last but not least, because I've been asked about this and I want to be transparent, by allowing for the Sugar House proper business district, so we're talking south of 2100 South, between 13th East and McClellan to the freeway, to have additional height similar to Granary doesn't create a change in building typology. You can't pencil at 150, which is what would be allowed. You'd have to have additional height, and that's where the city incentive for affordability is. So if you add affordability into the buildings, that would be what would get you to being able to generate a balanced project at additional height. Now, what I've heard is, and it's very fair reflection, I don't want additional height, but I've also heard I want affordability. And what I'm telling you is that we as a community need to have that conversation about what is our priority, because we're going to have to choose like our priority or hope and pray someone here wins the Mega Millions lottery and is prepared to do that in the goodness of their heart. Okay, so I am happy to have the conversation about which one makes more sense. I have been advocating for the affordability component because I talk to our firefighters and our police officers who live here. I know what it means to be a teacher in this area and to not be able to afford it. And I know how many people want to be a part of our community. If we want to say no, we would rather have what's existing already on the west side replicated on the Barnes and Noble block and build out that canyon, and that is better for us with no affordability. I can have that conversation with you in terms of what we're choosing, but it is going to be a choice, and it's a difficult choice. The reason that I advanced that request as the council member was number one, for transparency, and number two, so we can have the conversation. You have had experiences before where council members are making decisions at the day of the vote. I'm not doing that. I am having this conversation here today, now, and in land use committee so that we can discuss it openly as opposed to it being a surprise that happens at the end of a vote, which I know has happened to this community before and is not what I'm going to do. So last but not least, I do want to quickly touch on the Midas and the Snell Grove. The Midas block, we are trying to create a solution that allows them to keep all of the existing businesses and bring them back in at the same rent rates. So that's what we're trying to do, is to figure out a way to be able to keep the rent rates stabilized, and that we would try and advance that as well through a development agreement so that we can guarantee those pieces. That comes in an exchange related to some of the conversations about what zone that is. And again, it's a question of our priorities and how we want to represent those. As far as the Snell Grove property goes, I know that that one is up against single family houses and that there's a lot of concern about what could happen there, because we had already had a conversation about Snell Grove related to a previous project that wanted additional height that was supported by Sugar House in exchange for affordability. And then they quit on the affordability, and then the whole project crumbled. So the current proposal related to that is to build a kind of taller townhome-esque solution. It's not technically a townhome, it's a multifamily unit, but it's basically 2 units together in a building that's like 3.5 stories basically, because it has a larger garage on the bottom. As a part of that, form-based zoning, who knew that was a thing, is part of this mixed-use consolidation, and certain types of housing are limited. So even though it says MU8 can go up to 85 feet, if you're building townhomes, it's like lower than that. I think it's 50. And so part of that is trying to figure out the right fit for that solution, because from my perspective, and again, open to feedback, townhomes are a better solution for that property than a large scale apartment building in terms of its proximity to the single family. So I know that's a lot of information, and you're like, oh my gosh, wrap it up, Sarah. Amen. So as a part of that, I do want to share that I regularly attend Judy's meetings for land use. I am happy to, at Judy's allowance on the agendas, to be able to continue this conversation with you, whether a part of that agenda or after that meeting, to be able to discuss some of these logistics. I am here to represent us, but I also want to be transparent about some of those trade-offs that we need to consider as a community so that we can prioritize what that looks like for ourselves. So I'm here for that. I'm here to talk about it. And I appreciate you letting me take way more than my time. You're the best. Thanks, Derek. Get some ice cream.
Thank you, Sarah.
It's not this next Monday, it's the following Monday. 21st.
No, it's
the
the
month,
third,
right?
Monday of.
It's the third Monday of the month, yes, at the Sprague Lake.
Okay, the 19th. 6 o'clock.
Does Judy have anything to add to all of that?
No.
No.
It's confusing.
Okay. We're going to lighten it up a little bit. So you've heard the scuttlebutt. We talked about it a little bit last month, Sugar House Community Radio. So right now we've kind of started this as a bit of a committee attached to the Sugar House Community Council. We applied for a grant through the mayor's office for $2,000 and we were awarded that. So the money that thank you. The money that we've spent that Mike was talking about is going to be reimbursed if it already hasn't been. I don't think the totals reflected the reimbursement yet, but it's coming. We thought we were going to beg you guys for a little bit more, but we think we're going to be pretty self-sufficient by June 1st. So, yes. The way we can do that is to get you guys to listen, because the more listeners I have, the more I can go out to the small businesses who we developed this for, the nonprofits and the organizations, and sell them advertising to keep this going. Our advertising is $75 to $250 a month and everything in between, which is the cheapest radio advertising you're going to find. Way cheaper. The Neighborhood Hive, we can't afford KUAA. We can't afford KUER, any of those public radio stations, and it's unfortunate. So this is why we've created this. We already have our first radio show, which is a yacht rock party mix show on Saturdays. We have several more coming. Eventually, we want to broadcast these meetings live. We want to broadcast some of the high school sports live from Highland. And by the first of the year, we're looking to flip this into its own nonprofit. So if you would like to support us, we would love your support. We're going to work on a website to bring that up to speed. We would love personal support. But if you know any small businesses that want some affordable advertising, now's the time. Also, if you have a personality, if you want to curate a list, I want to talk to Preservation Utah about maybe like a history show. So we have all kinds of availability and openings. We are in a soft launch, so we're playing a lot of music right now. I feel like it's great music, but we're also open to some requests. So tune in, listen. We're developing our own app. I'm hoping that'll be done by the end of next week. So we're moving along, but if you guys will give us a listen, we want your opinions. We want people to come and participate. So thank you. We're not on the air. That's very expensive. Yeah, so you can go to the Sugar House Community Council site, sugarhousecouncil.org, and listen there. There's a page that has the player on it. You can go to an app called TuneIn. Download that. We're on TuneIn. We will be on Radio Garden in the next couple of days. Live 365 is also another app that you can download and tune into. Yeah, I think that's about it. So we're really excited about it. So we would love the community's input. And we've even started happening this weekend at Sugar House. So the art walk's on there. If you have anything going on, tag us. Tag the Sugar House Community Radio, and we will put it on the air. So I think that's it. Super easy. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Great.
Hang on one second.
Do you have anyone come and